KingJay and Minds, they played together back in HCS Raleigh, and these guys, they got the Raleigh 2021 Astro Breakout Team Award, so maybe they can pull that teamwork and chemistry together in this next game.
I'm right there with you. I want to see Native put on a show, but I'm also not going to sugarcoat things. Native were able to make it through the open bracket, and I'm good friends with a lot of these guys. You know, Piggy, KingJay. I love these guys. I love Cratos, and I'm happy that they made it here. But you're going up against the Kansas City champions, Sentinels, the Dynasty. Native are going to have a hard run, but as I say that, hold on. 2 down go Sentinels. Native already running that flag forward, having it past the halfway point. Native do not fear Sentinels.
Cratos said on Twitter, there is no need for storylines. He is the storyline. And he pulls that flag all the way towards his base. Right now, his teammates are 2 dead, but they still scrap it up. Mines is there. Piggy potentially going to take this, and if he puts this in, they get a 1-0 lead already in this game, Tony.
4 down goes Sentinels, 1-0 lead for Native. I don't know what's going on, but I'm here for the ride. Piggy gonna quickly make his way onto the skewer side, meeting a bit of resistance from LethuL. Luckily, as a teammate on his backside, Raw 2 gets a god nade. LethuL with SnakeBite getting back-to-back kills, and now the tides have turned once again. Native going 4 down, Sentinels ready to pull a flag of their own.
A lot of respect for Native for getting that very first flag cap, but we know that Sentinels start slow. In Kansas City, they got into a Game 5 against Quadrant where they nearly won, and also a Game 5 against the Pittsburgh Knights. So Sentinels just a team that has to kind of warm up, you know? They most of the time show up on that championship Sunday, but you don't want to start off having a bad record in pools because that's going to put you in the elimination bracket. And right here, we see LethuL. He's trying to push this flag through.
LethuL, the #1 assist player on this team, always able to set up his teammates for success, having 3 assists already to start up this game, ends up going down quickly. So we have Frosty saving that overshield from getting into the hands of Native, forcing it to be played off the map, while simultaneously we see a flag being run, and that's going to be SnakeBite.
So we see 1 flag being put in. That OS, though, was in Kratos' hands, and he threw it off the map. Because of that, they're not going to be able to try and force a second flag cap here, and Native have a chance to play a little bit of defense and make sure this next cap doesn't go in.
Kratos going right in for the challenge onto SnakeBite, able to find the kill. 3-4 to Sentinels hitting the black screen, and yet another pull going for Native here. We talked about Native just not fearing Sentinels, but as of right now, they're playing really well here in the early game. Obviously tied up at 1 apiece, but Native on the offense and in the base of Sentinels.
Mine's starting out the game a little bit slow here. He's 1-7, does have 5 assists, but you gotta tell me. I mean, if Mines can pick this up, Tony, if Mines can start to slay out like we know he can, this could potentially be a win for this Native roster. And let me tell you something, it would definitely be an upset win, but if you're Native, you definitely want to start in this series strong.
Shots being fired here. Piggy not able to win the individual piv, ends up being taken down. Frosty quickly grabbing that repulse, and you see the information coming on the screen for SnakeBite, pinging left and right, knowing exactly where Native are coming in. Mine tries to break through, a little 1-2 combo, tries to bait and switch, but that nade will slow him down just a bit.
I really like what I'm seeing out of Native right here. They're not forcing this flag cap. They're making sure they get a couple slays. As you can see, 2 down right there, make that 3, and they're going to be able to put this in safely. If you force that flag cap, you have a potential of a counter cap happening, but look at this. LethuL gets an incredible kill. Kratos there to clean it up, though. They're going to punch in their second cap.
2-1 lead, not by Sentinels, but Native right now controlling the pace here in game #1 on Catalyst. And we talked about before, when you're the underdog, when you're the lower ranked team, you have to have a great start. You have to dictate the pace. You have to tell Sentinels that we are not going to be reacting to everything you do. We are going to be setting the pace. We're going to make you react. We're going to go right at it with you. As Frosty on screen with the commando into the base of Native, into the Lion's Den. Piggy goes for the challenge, ends up getting put down. Kratos gonna get some too. Them hands rated E from everyone.
My goodness, Cratos gets that very pivotal kill, playing some insane defense on the base. And something you got to notice out of the scoreboard here is that KingJay is 11-7. Words from his mouth himself. He says that when he's playing well, he's a very inconsistent player, but when he's performing well, I mean, you got to watch out. This guy can take over.
And we need to see them take over. It's exactly what they need as Native up 2-1. Here, KingJay on screen, the leading slayer of his roster. 12 kills so far, even 2 assists to go along with it. They're currently trying to defend this base, making sure the Sentinels don't get an easy pull here. Native have to make sure that they defend it and then turn that defense into offense as LethuL and LethuL are starting to push up.
You see all of Native in the back of their base right now, setting up that wall of defense, making sure that Sentinels can't get through. But you gotta be careful here. LethuL 15-7. The highest Slayer in the lobby, and of course LethuL starting to prove himself, starting to prove his worth as well. A great player on this squad. There's been a lot of questions, but he remains on the roster and he's trying to prove why.
LethuL immediately taking height, covering the backside of his teammate who's running flag. KingJay tries to catch an angle and is denied immediately by LethuL. Finds himself a pick. 3 down, go Native. And with that, Sentinel should be able to run this home. I'm not sure there's anybody in position. There was one, it was Mines, but Frosty drops that flag, peels him off the map, and now Sentinels move into control the overshield. A little bit of CPR, trying to bring Mines to life. I like that.
Always got to bring him to life real quickly because right now, Native started off real strong, and you saw their teamwork and their bait and switch ability was incredible at the beginning of this game, but we're starting to see them stagger off, and it has a lot to do with as well these pivotal kills coming from Frosty and LethuL as well. Piggy with the double though, potentially going to quell this push, but they've got to take care of the 2 players that are pulling this flag.
LethuL bringing that flag all the way towards his teammate's spawning side. He wants to double back to deal with Piggy, but Piggy absolutely obliterating LethuL in that engagement. LethuL checking every corner, trying to find him, goes in for the melee, earns himself a killing spree. But as I say that, 3-4 to Sentinels on the black screen. Now it's LethuL by himself, waiting for his teammates to come off the spawn and catch up.
This is a great play by LethuL. They do know he's in the base, so he's got to make sure he tries and delay as best as possible. You see that left sneaky corner that he's sitting in? Very ambiguous. It's very hard to kill someone in this corner. You see it right there. Beautiful job by LethuL to play his life.
LethuL still on screen here, trying to defend that flag. Ends up getting the return to sender. Piggy throws an excellent grenade, but the counter coming in out of LethuL. What a play.
2 go down for each squad, so right now it's going to come down to who gets that first pick. It's a standoff, but it looks like that flag will be returned, and Frosty's going to put in the 3rd flag. They've got to set up here. They've got to make sure that they stay together. They play that bait and switch game like I mentioned before. That's what's going to grant them success in this game.
Similar to SSG, Native starting off hot, but now we're seeing Sentinels warm up, and now we're seeing them bounce back with that 3-2 lead. We have SnakeBite on screen, immediately going in for that grapple. Plays should be made with the utility.
Not enough is said about this. A lot of these teams from the top 8 are in Austin, Texas right now. They're playing as close to the server as possible, and Canadian LethuL, he plays on a really difficult connection most of the time. And right now, on the connection that favors everyone, he's 21-11. An incredible performance by him.
The #1 player in damage and lowest deaths, not only on his team, but even in the top category across the entire league, was the reason why they were first place in Kansas City. And LethuL, the Slayer, you're seeing on screen, 21-11, even running the flag, doing it all. Sentinels are starting to heat up.
LethuL does it all. If you watch the Optic video just posted on the YouTube, Optic Against the World, you saw how much LethuL was able to do with that one play against Formal with the camo and the sword with that shock rifle. And look at this, like you said, putting in another flag cap 4-2. It's going to be hard for Native to recover here.
Only 1 cap needed for Sentinel to come out on top. Piggy, aware of it, opens things up with a masterful double kill. Grabs that flag, tries to inch it forward, but ends up going down to 1 shot. Doesn't care, still tries to get it across, but Frosty anticipating that well. Now Frosty gets the double kill onto the feed, and once again, Native are losing numbers. They're dropping players left and right, and that was a sweep in favor of Sentinels, who were looking to put their final flag cap on the board.
When you're Native and you go up 2 caps in this first game, obviously you're feeling the adrenaline, you're feeling really good about yourself, but unfortunately, it's going to be really difficult to hold that type of momentum against a team like Sentinels, against the first seeded team. This team is disgusting. They won Kansas City for a reason. They're able to wake up at any moment. And it looks like right there, I did see LethuL kind of walking into the wall, so it looks like we might potentially have a little bit of a lag out here. We'll get back to you with the results from the refs.
5 flag caps needed within 4 minutes on the clock. Meanwhile, Sentinel starting off with a 2-0 lead, only having to cap 2. You have the grapple, you have the overshield. There's plenty of goodies on the map for them to take advantage of here on Catalyst. Let's start on board with LethuL.
And you talk about that right there, Tony. The big factor for me is the 4 minutes. You've got only 2 overshields to work with. You've got to make them count if you're this native roster. And right away, we've got 2 dead for Sentinels. They're trying to make a push on this flag. But look at LethuL, the anchor player at the backside, putting shots in, getting perfects, and the damage is too much. But Sentinels are getting outslayed at the beginning of this game once again.
Native once again starting off hot. Their opening strats are absolutely solid here on Catalyst. And now we're seeing the bounce back coming out of SnakeBite, taking down one, getting the reversal on the second one. A double kill comes in, and just like that, a little bit of momentum shifting in favor of Sentinels.
Fine, starting off real strong here. That play, not so much his stats, but the play that he made onto SnakeBite to make sure that that overshield was null and void. Really set them up to play some defense, but you see, again, SnakeBite in that ambiguous spot in the left corner. I don't believe they know he is there, so he's going to be a little bit of a problem. But they take out one of the problems, and that's going to be LethuL.
Mind's able to steal away that repulse and the sword combination, going right after SnakeBite, chasing him away. As while that happens, KingJay at the same time is going to be pulling this flag, so things going from bad to worse for Sentinels. Mind's coming in with the sword. 3 down goes Sentinels, and this first flag cap might go in favor of Native.
I feel like every night with my kids, I'm reading the same book over and over again. Native is looking real strong at the beginning of this game. My question is, can they continue this momentum throughout? Looks like this first flag cap is going to go in with little resistance, and it's going to be Cratos punching it in.
Native once again taking control here. Sentinels not starting off as hot, but keep in mind, Sentinels have started off with a 2-0 lead. Now it's 2-1. Native having 2 minutes on the clock to put at least 1 on the board to tie things up. And Frosty and LethuL having something to say about that, putting Cratos and KingJay onto the black screen. Mine's gonna go down as well. And now we're having Sentinels take control here. Less than 2 minutes. Overshield, sword, resources in favor of LethuL.
LethuL with this OS and this sword gonna make an impact. You see the overextenders on the other side there, but 3 go down, and LethuL, the last player alive. He can definitely take and put a lot of damage into this squad, but how much is he going to be able to put in? The bait and switch from Native is actually really strong. They're going to get this flag past the halfway point of the map, and some great nades are going to prevent LethuL from pushing any further with this overshield.
You talked about the damage LethuL is able to create. That damage eventually turns into pressure. And with that, they try to stop Native from pushing forward, but Native met them at every angle. And now a 2-0 lead for Native. This game is essentially tied up with 1 minute on the clock.
Fortunately, once again, though, Native end up going 3 down, and this might be a flagpole for Sentinels, but the spawns come through. They waited a little bit too long. So it's going to be up to LethuL once again to slay out the squad. 2 of his teammates are down, though, so he's got to be careful here.
43 seconds for either team to try to make something happen. I don't think either one of them want to see an overtime situation, and half the members of Native go down. Sentinels immediately taking height here. LethuL having an opportunity to pull a flag if they get the timing of the slays. Frosty off a screen, making a play with the skewer. SnakeBite taking down Piggy. Frosty fighting yet another one. 3 down for Native. And KingJay, the final player, able to take down Frosty before going down. But LethuL is going to take this flag right up the mid.
Once again, Native start off strong. There's only 5 seconds remaining, though. And they're not going to have enough caps here on the board. They needed 5. So it looks like Sentinels are going to take this first game of the series, and something we had thought to be written already.
Well, actually, technically, Sentinels needed 3 caps in order to win, but that would give them a 2-0 lead. Native were able to cap 2, so I'm going to wait for the admins to figure this out.
Even the Passion Pit is so competitive, set by so many players. Swish at Kansas City. Some of the hardest competition he's ever fought, but here we go. First cap is going to take it, Tony.
We're in an overtime situation. Native going up against Sentinels. Like you said, first cap to take it all. And LethuL going right up the mid, stealing away that overshield. Cratos not able to stay alive with that grapple, so that's going to change hands over towards SnakeBite. And with that 2 down, go Native and Sentinels have them on the ropes.
Yeah, Native's in trouble right now. That first OS comes through. Sentinels is in charge of that, but they're all going to get those back spawns in the flag. They've just got to play that bait and switch game they play so well. You saw it right there with Mines and Piggy. Piggy handling that cross-map shot, has an escape route as well. That OS is null and void, and the defense so incredibly great out of this Native squad.
LethuL putting Mines down to 1 shot, but gets a little bit juked there. Crossover out of Mines. Fake left, go right, gets himself a back smack, and just like that, Sentinels not able to capitalize on the slays. Native playing excellent defense. Mines gonna be the first one to go down. Over toward the top mid-size. Sentinels look to advance forward as they find themselves numbers once again. Piggy going for a bit of an off pull here. If they can get the slays in a timely manner, maybe it turns this non-advantageous pull into a fantastic one, into a phenomenal one.
Both flags are pulled for either side. Now it's gonna matter who gets the kills, and right away you see a trade. LethuL and KingJay both going down here, a 3v3 situation. It's gonna be a little bit of a standoff.
LethuL going to be the flag carrier for Sentinels. That's going to open things up for Frosty, LethuL, and SnakeBite to push across the map. Mines going right in for the challenge onto SnakeBite off the screen. LethuL comes in. Love that play out of LethuL. Drop the flag, go in, try to get that cleanup kill. Don't give Native easy numbers. And now LethuL, the former flag carrier, is going to push up and create some pressure here onto Native. Love that relay. Love that thought process. Sentinels looking clean.
This next overshield is up. A big factor in this game right off the bat. They've got to fight for this, both teams. This could literally decide this cap. It's a very important power-up to get. 3v3. Once again, Cratos doing a great job of playing his life, but a nade from LethuL is going to take him out of the map.
And now with 2 down for each of the members here, SnakeBite going to elect to drop this flag and try to put pressure onto that overshield side. In a standoff, every resource so valuable, and that includes the overshield. And my gosh, Mines winning every individual piv, but Native going 3 down. That's going to leave Cratos by himself. Cratos able to take down the first aggressor, and that's going to be Frosty. A huge pick, a huge play by him, but the pressure is continuing. We see LethuL going in for the challenge. We know he doesn't miss.
Great job right there by Cratos to just play his life as long as possible while his teammate KingJay came in to clean up the pieces. That overshield was in the hands of Frosty. He was able to get 3 dead, but no conversion of this flag, so once again, they go at it.
Frosty immediately taking height here over with the skewer. We see Cratos off a screen taking down SnakeBite, ends up getting himself a double kill to defend that flag, and now Frosty by himself having no choice but to back down and defend the flag. They pulled the goalie right there, having a 4-man push. And now it's Frosty that grabs that flag, puts it over towards the mid-map. Tim, it's an abatable position, but Native are trying to get into position themselves.
No, that was an incredible play by Frosty right there, throwing the flag towards middle, right towards his teammates' spawns. Because of that, they were on spawn, were able to get there in time, and now the flag is returned, and Sentinels are going to take game number 1.
What a play by Frosty, knowing that there was no way he can win that engagement. Instead, prioritizing pulling that flag out of a return position and in a position where spawning teammates over toward that window side have a direct alley, a direct angle towards that flag, and use it as bait. Tim, that was masterfully done. Sentinels taking game 1.
Still very impressed with Native's performance there, though. They've got to... This is where the mental game comes in, Tony. I'm going to talk about this a lot on the HCS broadcast that I get. Mental is very important in this situation. You've got to step back, reset, understand that you put up a fight against the #1 seed in this tournament. This next map is going to be Street Slayer, and let me tell you something. These teams, Sentinels just look so strong here. I believe 6-0 in Slayer and KC on Streets. This map is theirs.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree. I think Sentinels look really strong, but I'm actually even more impressed by Native. Native's ability to keep things close. I think if you poll 100 people in the chat right now, I would say 98 of them would have said this would have been a blowout in favor of Sentinels, and it was anything but. In fact, I was actually worried for a bit that maybe Native could steal the win, but obviously Sentinels clutching up when it matters most, taking game number 1, and you talked about that mental. now I want to know, where's Native's mental from here? How do they bounce back? You know, you're within striking distance, you have the game within your hands, and you feel robbed of that game one. How do you respond?
Confidence they just should have after such a close game in game one. You have to understand Sentinels start slow in tournaments. This is just their shtick. Why? I don't know. Maybe they want to make it hard on themselves, but regardless, Native have a chance to answer here.
Sentinels the favorite to go 3-0 in pools here, being tested by Native in the early Rockets pool, being grabbed up and swallowed by LethuL here. And now it's LethuL with SnakeBite immediately going over to the subway side, finding Piggy and Cratos, end up putting one down, make it two, the third one gonna fall, and this is the start that we expect to see out of Sentinels.
5-1 already. Purely due to those Rockets and the control of LethuL here. I love the way LethuL's playing so far in this tournament. I say Sentinels start slow, but something that LethuL does not start is slow. He is playing a very incredible game, something we're used to seeing out of him in previous years. Starting to show up here in Halo Infinite.
3 down goes Sentinels. Native finding a way to answer back immediately. Roll 2, the final player alive here over toward the P side, but a 3-man push out of Native will take him down, not before taking down one along with him. And now Sentinels looking to answer back. 2 down across the board. This next battle is going to be pivotal.
Joey's got to watch out because Sentinels always send 2 or 3. KingJay goes down, but it's a 3v3 situation until Mines falls as well. And you see Sentinels really starting to control that utility on the map. Frosty using that Sentinel beam with that Bulldog. You see it in ATM. Someone's got to pick that up. One of the most powerful weapons on the streets.
Onboard now with Frosty, the 2-man push coming from the P side. Frosty recognized that, immediately backing down and has a spawning teammate alongside with them. So now numbers in favor of Sentinels. They look to apply pressure, and look at this flank coming in out of Frosty.
He's going to be met by 2, though. When I talked about the bait and switch in the last game, they're performing the same bait and switch here. A very utilized skill in the high level of Halo, but Native just doing a great job of it. Unfortunately, Mines does overextend there. It is going to get taken out. That's going to put his team 2 dead.
Mines goes down. Cratos and Piggy gonna come in to pick up the pieces here. Roll 2 ends up getting a double kill of his own, spotted out and put down. 3 down for both of these teams, and Native are the ones really fighting back. Down by 3 kills. They are not allowing Sentinels to run over them. They are answering out every single push that Sentinels try to create, and that's what's keeping things close.
Great job by KingJay to try and get Royal 2 off of that anchor position. Didn't work out. Royal 2 most of the time wins his pivs, and he did it once again versus Piggy. So you got to look out for Royal 2 in this situation. You've got to make sure you take him off that back spot, because he's going to be that anchor player that just does so much damage for this Sentinels roster.
Royal 2, the leading slayer on this team right now, and also highest damage, lowest deaths. They need him to have a pop-off game, and it's already starting. Cratos off a screen, though, getting a double kill. Already having 6 assists to go along with it. Royal 2 immediately jumping over toward the plant side to try to create that pressure, but he's going to be forced to back down. His teammates are spawning over toward the subway side. Native are holding down A. This game is about to slow down a bit.
LethuL having an incredible game number 2. The number 2 Halo player of all time. Voted in that top 25. And there's a reason for it. Looks like he's starting to get comfortable with Halo Infinite, Tony. But we've got to be careful right now. It's 29-24, and those Rockets are coming up. But look at Frosty controlling every little bit of the sandbox possible.
Frosty now having that Stalker rifle in hand. The pings are coming in, but off a screen, Piggy taking down SnakeBite. Frosty gonna try to slow things down, try to get behind enemy lines. Meanwhile, Native are looking to get aggressive here. Mines was able to get away with the Rockets, but Frosty might be able to make a play. Mines being distracted by 1, not able to get the kill with the Stalker rifle, but SnakeBite cleans up that one and holding on to the 3-kill lead, neutralizing the power that Rockets provided Native.
Incredible job by Frosty realizing that push was coming on to be the communication out of the general SnakeBite. Allowed him to play patiently on that play, and because of that, the Rockets are going to be out of play, and they're going to get a kill onto Mines. But Native doing a really good job of keeping this close. We're about to approach that 30 kill mark for each squad. And this is where you're going to start seeing things get out of control. And I'm looking for Native to kind of hold strong here, as they know they can. This is a very close game, and again, something we did not expect to see. Native looking really strong in this series.
And just a little bit of technical difficulties that we're seeing on screen here. It's a 31-29 game that was in favor of Sentinels, and most likely we'll see some kind of reset as Cratos is chasing down LethuL. LethuL wasn't even shooting back, and Cratos like, yeah, no mercy, no mercy.
Again, I gotta harp on it once again. That Bulldog, those rockets, take control of those. Take control of this thruster. These first rockets are going to be very important off the rip here, Tony.
In any Slayer match, you have to value your life, and normally that will force you to slow the game down. But with these rockets and these resources placed in non-advantageous position, it forces you out of your own. It forces you to get aggressive here. And with that, tied up at 3 apiece here in the early game, 2 down for each of the members. 3 down for Native. LethuL able to get a hold of the rockets, and this can be a game changer.
You saw a lot of trades there in the middle, and ends up with a 4-4 score tied up. But once again, LethuL, 2 rockets in the pocket. He's going to try to make a difference. He gets one right off the bat, looking for the second, but Piggy playing his life real well. And once again, these rockets change the game, and so does that Bulldog in the back of LethuL's hands.
LethuL now swapping out the rockets for a Bulldog, and we're going to see if he can continue to go 4-0 right now. 1 assist to go along with it. LethuL will be the first one to go down, but Cratos overextends a bit, gets caught, and now it's KingJay and Mine stuck over toward the B side. LethuL wanted to introduce himself. We know him be barking on the timeline all the time. Apparently he's about to do the same with the Bulldog.
You notice LethuL usually playing that anchor role, kind of stepping up right now as the Slayer, cleaning up the kills that are weak and doing a really good job of it. Like you said, 5-1 to start this game. It's going to give Sentinels that 4-kill lead now, winning most of his fights. But Cratos, that's going to be a big confidence maker for Cratos right there in that situation. That 1v1 piv goes his way, but 2 go down for Sentinels momentarily.
Native need to keep that confidence going. It's still a close game, only down by 3 kills. This rocket's going to be huge. You talked about Mines being able to steal it over towards the mid game of that, or before the reset. He has to do this again. But as I say that, Native end up going 2 down. Mines going to try to break out. He ends up getting caught. LethuL. Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Native just turned the tables completely in that engagement.
That was a big kill by LethuL. I'm surprised he jumped off that balcony. That balcony is such a difficult spot to be. He had support on that tire side. He jumps off, gives them a free kill, and because of that, Mines and all of Native are going to have this power-up control, the Stalker, the rockets, and all of it to boot, and LethuL in trouble as he gets trapped here. Beautiful plays by this Native roster, and a perfect once again from Mines, absolutely destroying this lobby.
All that control that Sentinels had is no more. Native bounce back, and the recovery is immaculate coming out of the boys. Piggy, the first one to go down. Mine stealing up those rockets and combined it with the thrust, uses it to get out alive. Pressure still being created by Sentinels, and now numbers momentarily going in favor of them, but those rockets change games.
I absolutely love the equipment on this map. The ability to use the thruster in an offensive way or a defensive way. Get out of dodge or play aggressive on an advantage. They did it so well. That is 3-4-3. 22-19 is the lead for Native. Can they continue to hold this? Can they continue this momentum as KingJay trying to stay alive on the shotgun side?
But 3 down go Native. That's not what you want to see. Sentinels wiping out the entire Native roster. And this is what I was talking about before. When things go from bad to worse, when they put you down, identify those spawners, put those pressure in. It just feels to be too much at times. Sentinels pushing right up towards the driveway side. The Bulldog getting max value in the hands of SnakeBite. Native have to try to break out of spawn, and that's so hard to do against the #1 seeded Sentinels.
Let me tell you something, Tony. I can't hear the comms, right? But I'm telling you right now, when Sentinels is starting to stagger and get into too many 1v1s, the general, the best IGL in the game, SnakeBite, is pulling them out, pulling them together and slowing them down, and you constantly see this lead change. And in my eyes, it's a lot to do with the IGL. player controlling the squad, and it's that man on your screen right now with the rockets in hand.
SnakeBite looking to make a play with these rockets, having 2 in the chamber, just barely missing out on Piggy, who's able to push over toward the tire side. Native now halted up over toward the A side. Sentinels looking for a perimeter kill so they can break through. SnakeBite valuing this last rocket. He knows he needs to make a play with it. Ends up taking down Piggy, almost able to clip KingJay as well. But 2 down for each of the rosters. Native continue to stabilize and now continue to go 3 down.
If you're just joining us, got to get updated here. Sentinels only need 48 to win this game. Native need all 50. This is a reset. And they're so close, Sentinels, that is. Already 37 kills on the board, and they're starting to pull away, and this is exactly what I was worried about after this 30-kill mark.
They're approaching the end game. This is where Sentinels always seem to shine, is over towards the end game, Tim. And now LethuL gonna swap out that commando for the Sentinel beam. The Sentinel beam can absolutely obliterate, but you gotta have that tracking. And I mean, we know LethuL, he can track his target pretty well.
He can track his target pretty well. West Clutch says he's the best point-and-click player in the game. That is Royal 2. Starting off this game 10-7. The push from LethuL a little overextended, but they still end up trading out and getting another one. And that's not what you want. You don't want trades in this situation, and that's exactly what Native is getting. But Frosty with a bulldog in hand, he's looking to bark, Tony.
Native down by 6. They need clean kills. They need clean wipes. And Frosty is being such a nuisance with his life. Getting creative, going over towards the ATM side, double backing, and while that changed the direction of the enemy team, LethuL sneaks right and takes down 1. Mines comes in for the cleanup. Piggy getting caught extended as well, but now there's only 8 more kills needed for Sentinels.
And Native had 2 kills right there. They get another one, but the ability of Frosty to dodge all those nades in that situation to stay alive with Bulldog was so huge. And he was able to convert 2 off that. 4 kills is all Sentinels need. Make that 3. They only need 48 in this game. It's a reset, and they're looking to get them right now. All they need is trades, Tony.
But 3 down goes Sentinels. Native once again taking control here. But is it too little, too late? 1 round of slays, 2 trades going in favor of Sentinels, and that spells good night for Native. This game number 2 getting so close, and look at how much respect both of these teams have for each other. At this point, they slowed the game down. It's so quiet on streets. You drop a pin and it'll echo. But SnakeBite tries to find an opening, ends up right into the rocket of Piggy that takes him down immediately. Tried to come in for the cleanup. Does LethuL able to connect on 1, and now it's the 47th kill. 1 more needed out of Sentinels. Frosty trying to come in with the Sentinel beam. Comes right in, and it's their namesake as LethuL and Frosty shredding, and that's gonna be it. Sentinels coming out on top. And looks like they're going for that final kill as well, just to put the icing on the cake. Sentinels 1 game away from coming out 1-0 in pools.
This is what we expected, but one thing I did not expect is the fight being put up by Native. These guys, a very new roster, but need to stay together. They look really strong, and with a little bit of practice and potentially some more scrims and some more film review, they could be a top 12, top 8 team in my opinion. I love to see the plays, the intelligence coming out of Piggy at the end of that game with the Rockets, waiting patiently for SnakeBite to pull through, but you saw right there, the IGL comes into play. He's able to close out that last kill. Piggy was weak, and they converted on it, and that opened up everything. Native wasn't able to come back.
Native have been phenomenal. And if you look at the seeding, you're talking about the number 1 seeded team going up against the number 20th seed. They are last place as far as points in this tournament. And look what Native have been able to do. I mean, you're talking about that game number 1 where they're moments away from winning. They played absolutely lights out both in the beginning of that game 1 and then even after the reset. Going into game 2, keeping things as close as possible, gaining so many rockets like the one you saw on screen right there by Piggy. They're going toe-to-toe with Sentinels as the number 20th seed when everybody's counting them out. Native are playing absolutely lights out, and I think they're going to continue to do so within pool play, and that's going to continue to go into bracket play. Do not underestimate Native.
Remember, the top 2 in pools will move over to that winner's bracket. The 3rd will move over to elimination round number 2, and then the 4th, of course, going to be playing in elimination round number 1. Let me tell you something. This native roster looks strong, and I love to see it. We're going to take a look at the series layout here to see what's up next, and it's going to be Oddball on Recharge. Tony, tell me about this map. What are the keys to success if Native want to try their best to bring this series back?
Oddball Recharge, simply one of the largest maps that we have and plentiful when it comes to resources. The shockwave, the grapple, you know, don't forget about the repulse and the camouflage that spawns towards that mid-map. It's hard to do, but you have to focus up on that camouflage and that shock rifle. The shock rifle coming up so quickly off of respawn. You can lock down the game if you have it in the right hands. And then obviously when it comes to that camouflage, whenever there's a break that needs to be had on Oddball, it can go through the camo. If you can hone in and focus on those two resources and make sure that your opponents don't get their greedy little hands on it, you can come out on top. I don't care if you're native Sentinels or a reality check. I don't care who it is.
The series lead for Sentinels is 2-0. And you'd look at that and say that you knew that was going to happen, but if you're just joining us, the games have been extremely close. Native looking extremely strong, but Sentinels looking to close this out right here, looking to put the nail in the coffin. And Native going to do everything they can to prevent that from happening.
And that's why LethuL is the #1 objective player on his team right there. Just not being a sitting duck. Dropping that ball, cleaning up those kills, going right back to keeping his eyes on the target. That's pressure being created, and that's hard to respond. You're seeing that with Native. 3-0 start for LethuL on the kill feed, already having almost 30 seconds worth of ball time by himself. That's one hell of a start for the #1 seeded Sentinels.
I mean, they're approaching 35 seconds, and that's like the maximum amount of ball time you can get on a setup here. And Sentinels showing. Very efficient, getting that ball out of batteries. And honestly, not a lot of contention there from Native. He brought it all the way towards elevator, then went through the tower with no problem whatsoever. Some beatdowns going in and shooting the water too. I don't know, Frosty's into this. He wants some drama.
I mean, you know Sentinels know KingJay very well. So I'm just saying, they can get a little fun with it. 2 down for each of the members. The third one gonna fall here. Native are really struggling. Luckily, Mine's picking up a huge kill onto Royal 2. And that'll slow down the push the Sentinels are able to create. Native having that Pipes presence here. This can be big for Native.
What else is big is Mines on this glass side, but he does know there's a player behind him. He's trusting his instinct here. It's going to be Frosty, who's in Pipes. Frosty's going to get out of dodge, but 3 of Mines' teammates are now down. So trying to play his life and potentially get those C-plat spawns as well.
Sentinels just having an advanced understanding on how to play the space here on Recharge. And Native are struggling to create any kind of pressure. But as I say that, Piggy was able to get a remote detonation off the screen. That's the first pick going in favor of them. Frosty gonna answer right back with a shock rifle play. And with that, Sentinel just keeps soaking up so much ball time, quickly approaching the midway point of their game. Meanwhile, Native yet to put a singular point on the board.
Sleeping Giant has woken up. They look a lot stronger in this game number 3 than they did in the previous 2 games. And now they've locked in a pipe setup, which can be very strong. And look at this, the shock rifle you talked about in the hands of Frosty, one of the strongest weapons in the game, and he's looking to utilize it.
I don't care how objective efficient you are. There's no way you can come out on top against any team, let alone Sentinels, with this level of energy, this level of slays. At one point, World 2 was almost outslaying the entire lobby, or the entire Native lobby by himself. Native needs to wake up. They need to answer back. Mine's able to come out right off of Frosty. That's going to be a huge play. Cratos trying to create that opening towards that ball, ends up right into the hands of Sentinels. Once again, they are simply losing the Slays battle, and it's not even close.
70-0 in game, or round, I'm sorry, number 1. Sentinels looking to extend that, but I love how efficient they are to wait for Slays first, then grab the ball when they have a full setup available, and see Royal 2 gets a pivotal kill onto KingJay, and that opens up the map as they kill 3. Now they're going to get some ball time.
Switch gears over towards Piggy, struggling over toward the A side. The moment that spawn is recognized, they push up, they aggress, and Sentinels wiping down Native at the moment. A 75-0 run. Native must have been hanging out with Coach O. 0-82 right now.
They must have been. That camo down bottom center. Not sure who was able to pick that up, but Frosty doing it all as well. A Slayer on this squad picks up the ball time, and that's something I love to see out of Sentinels. The ability for every player to do every type of role, but 3 go down for Sentinels, Tony.
And we finally see some first ball points going in favor of Native at the moment here. Mine's going to try to rotate this ball over toward the C side. It'll be an incredible comeback if somehow Native were able to stop every single push. Near perfect Halo must be played, and Sentinels able to force the reset. Mine's playing it off the map, goes down to 1 shot. Too much pressure coming in for Sentinels, and now Native gonna start off this engagement 2 down right as that ball's coming up.
Shows how strong Sentinels is on the breaks there. Native only able to get 10 seconds of ball time after getting 4 down. Now completely, once again, getting outslayed by Sentinels. Royal 2, 14-7 as they look to close this out, only 12 seconds away from doing so.
Frosty getting value out of that sword, but what a stick out of Mines to slow him down. But it's still Sentinels that come out with that ball. The nades start trying to come in, but it's not going to be enough. Sentinels taking round number 1, 1 round away from putting down Native.
That is the Sentinels we are used to, Tony. It's going to take a lot out of Native here to come back in this game. And not only the game, but the series overall. They've got to shut down Royal 2 potentially. They've got to try and just pull it all out of the tank. The endurance looks low for this squad right now. The tank looks empty. But this is not the time to go down. A very great potential team in Royal 2 playing his life once again, playing the angles. Getting another sword kill for himself.
I mean, Native might have emptied the tank in those first 2 games. I mean, we talked about how well they started with both of them, but in this game, they're looking lifeless for the most part. Sentinels definitely controlling the entire game. KingJay trying to get away with the camo. Not only will he end up going down, but wasn't able to burn it. So that's just a free camo and sword combination for Royal 2, who ends up getting peeled from across the map. Piggy gonna follow that up as well, and I don't know what happened to that camouflage.
I believe the camo is still on that Mangler stair, and Mine's potentially picking it up. He does have it and also has the sword. He can make some damage happen here. They get 2 dead for Sentinels, looking for the spawns on C now.
And that might have been the turning point here in this round. Not much of a lead by Sentinels, and with them going 3 down, Mines is going to go after that ball, but gets grappled and stolen away by Cratos. A huge play, because that frees up Mines to make waves with the camo and sword, but he's spotted out. He's taken down. That is not good for Native.
Whoever that was on the Sentinels definitely eats their carrots, Tony. I hate carrots, and that's why my vision's not as good. That camo's going to be spotted, and that's a big blunder. Sentinels playing with their food right now. They finally get a lead, 13 seconds and counting. They've got 1 dead in Cratos, but Cratos having a rough game to start here, 4-13. The confident player, and I always talk about how important confidence is. Probably one of the most confident players in the HCS, but having a rough game in this oddball.
SnakeBite trying to get this ball over towards a playable position. He's in at the reset as his team is going down. Frosty off a screen, though, taking down Mines. A huge play. They now know exactly where Piggy is. They spot out 1 as well over towards the whirlpool. So that's enough info for SnakeBite to get aggressive with the grapple, taking down 1. Piggy gonna end up going down as well, courtesy of Royal 2. And with that, Sentinels might be able to get hands on that ball once more.
I've noticed that Dave is able to get a couple slays here and there, but they're not able to get a full squad wipes. Sentinels is always on top of it, always trying to play their lives if they're down in numbers, always, changing the pace of the game. And Royal 2, we know exactly what he's capable of with his weapon. Takes the shock rifle. KingJay is going to go down as well. And Royal 2, 18, 9, and 11, Tony, having a great stat sheet right now.
Yeah, not just the kills, the assists that go along with it. Royal 2, a stud. One of the best shots in the game. Meanwhile, SnakeBite able to stay alive. Love that play. Gets right over toward the height advantage, and Sentinels just relaying that ball now over toward the long haul side. It's the objective efficiency. It's the communication. It's a damn near perfect team Sentinels are playing like here.
That was a great rotation by LethuL, but unfortunately they do go 3 dead, so I'm looking for Native to capitalize on this right now. Find that last player. You know the spawns when you find them. But you see SnakeBite being the last alive, going to push the advantage here onto Cratos, and he's all alone, Tony, on this elevator side.
Luckily, Piggy does end up coming over towards him off of spawn, but they lose their perimeter player and Cratos as well. So now KingJay might be forced to play this ball off of the map soon here. Luckily, look at the scoreboard. There was a lead change. It is going in favor of Native at the moment here. Native are fighting back. Sentinels still 1 round away from taking the series.
And that comes from getting that 3 dead on the Sentinels and breaking that setup in that turbine side. A little bit of scrappy play coming out of Native. Cratos is going to have the ball in hand now, so potentially a pipe setup in the works, but they do get 2 dead for Sentinels, and looks like Native's starting to slay out a little bit. This is exactly what you want to see if they want to bring this back. Of course, Sentinels being up 1 round, so this is a must-win round and a must-win game, as they're also down 0-2 in the series.
Love the play by Mines to get created with the repulsor, deny access to one, then taking height with it with the other. Masterfully played by Mines. And now there's one more player coming in and ends up being knocked over toward the tower side, only delaying the push for just a bit. Back-to-back kills in favor of Mines, make it all 4 down for Native in favor of Sentinel, excuse me.
Those delays are what you need right there, though. They were able to get about 10 seconds off that delay from Mines with that repulsor, and the ball was played down bottom center, so now they've got the opportunity to reslay Sentinels once again, but Frosty does have the most powerful weapon in the game in his hands, and Mines takes him out with a beatdown, so this could be a turning point right now.
They're looking for a turning point. They need one. Again, Native are still down as far 0-2 in the series. They're still 1 round away from losing this entire one. Native needs to make something happen, and with Mines going down, KingJay gonna follow him. That ball very close to Sentinels. It's gonna be grappled up. And now some more ball time. Maybe it's Sentinels that are able to swing this game.
Love the role LethuL and SnakeBite are playing here, both with 50-plus seconds of ball time. And if you look on the other end of things, KingJay slaying as well, and still 51 seconds of ball time on the board for him. A well-rounded squad on both sides, which is what you love to see. I mean, you got to have well-rounded players that are able to do anything whenever it's needed. That's the balance we see nowadays, whereas back in the day, we saw more of a, absolute roles like a slayer, objective player. Nowadays, we see everyone able to do everything, and it's so good because all these things take so much skill, and you've got to develop all of them. LethuL with the ball once again in hand and trying to close out this game, or potentially trying to bring this to a lead, which it looks like he does.
At one point, Native had over double Sentinel scoreline here in this round. But Sentinels have now taken the lead and taken control. 4 down, go Native. That's 8 seconds off of respawn. That's another 10 seconds or so just to push up on the map. And that doesn't even guarantee them getting slays and breaking the setup. Sentinels are locking the map down.
You see all 4 players of Native on your screen right now. Look at the break and how it's going to happen. KingJay does push in by himself, but look at the cleanup from Frosty once again, and then Mines comes in after. It's constantly staggered pushes here. Frosty does have that sword, but one by one they go marching in, and they drown as well. Sentinels outslaying their opponent incredibly, and 19 seconds will close out this game and also the series.
Maybe not quite drowning yet, but they're treading water. The problem is they're in the middle of an ocean right now. Is Native 2 down? Sentinels looking for those final seconds. Roll2 just baiting that alleyway with the sword. And Cratos actually having the intuition to knock him back and stealing a kill. That was great. But sadly, 2 down for both of the members, and it feels like it's only a matter of time still for Sentinels to steal the game.
It makes me feel so bad about myself, Tony. When I see reaction time like that out of Cratos, I'm like, oh my word, how is that possible to react that quickly to a sword player? But that's why he's in this situation, and I'm here casting with you. But here we go. Sentinels close out the series, close out the game, 3-0, Sentinels in pools.
And sadly, that reaction time wasn't enough to stop him from going 8-23 in that game. And sadly, it might have been at least part of the reason why Native end up losing that game. It's 0-3 for Native in the matchup. But I would say, for those of us who actually watched the game and paid attention to the eyeball test, I think we're still proud of Native. The way they played that game number 1, incredible, and they were just moments away from stealing it against Sentinels, stealing that momentum. Even game number 2, being able to grab those rockets and those resources over towards that end game, I thought that was big as well. And then obviously game number 3 is where, let's be honest, Sentinels absolutely dominated there. But I would say those first 2 games are very good for Native, and hopefully they continue to play more like that in the rest of the pools as opposed to their game 3.